Dear students, greetings of the day. Welcome you all to the course that is Circular Knitting Technology. So in the last sessions we have discussed about the single bed circular knitting machines and different types of the ancillary systems which are there in the circular knitting machines, such as like the lubrication systems and the suction and blowing systems, and as well as the safety systems which are there in the knitting department or in the knitting machine. Okay, and along with that we have seen that the fleecy fabrics or fleecy knitted fabrics production, how the stitch formation will be there, and along with that we have seen that the terry pile fabrics or loop pile fabrics, how the loop pile fabrics are going to be made in the circular knitting machines we have discussed in the previous sessions. Okay, so today's session we are going to see about the double bed circular knitting machines. So in the last session we have discussed completely related to the single bed circular weft knitting machines. Okay, and now this session we are going to discuss about the double bed circular weft knitting machines. Okay, particularly we are going to see that, as we have seen that in the classification of circular knitting machines. So if you have seen that one of the criteria to classify the circular knitting machines are number of beds we are using. Okay, number of needle beds we are using. So the needle beds, different types are there, like single needle beds and double needle beds. Okay, so in double bed or double needle bed circular knitting machines, so basically we have two different types. One is called as the cylinder and dial case, and the second one is called as double cylinder circular weft knitting machines. Okay, so one is called as cylinder and dial circular weft knitting machine, and the second one is called the double cylinder weft knitting machine or circular knitting machine. Okay, so we will see that what is exactly the double bed circular weft knitting machines are. Okay, so you can see here the weft knitted fabrics may be approximately divided into single or double jersey fabrics. So single or double jersey fabrics according to the whether they were knitted one set of needles or two set of needles. Okay, if we have one set of needles, so we can say that that is single jersey circular knitting machine or single jersey knitting machine, and if we have two needle sets of needles, if two set of needles are there, then we can say that that is called as the double jersey knitting machines. Okay, so again it may be preferably to include some of these fabrics is separate grouping of underwear and specialty fabrics. Okay, so these are the applications where we are using the generally the knitted fabrics, whether it is made from the single bed or a double bed. So we are using preferably in the conventional days we are going to use the undergarments as well as the specialty fabrics. Nowadays it is came into the apparel sector also, like t-shirts and a few things. Okay, so then there will be an eyelet. Okay, pellet eyelet and sinker wheel mesh structures and float plated fabrics are mainly used for. These are the different types of fabric structures which are used in the undergarments or underwear fabrics. While highest pile and the flush fabrics, so pile fabrics, terry piles or loop piles we have discussed in the last sessions. So pile fabrics or the flush fabrics we are going to use for the purpose of specialty fabrics. So specialty applications. Okay, so specific application we are going to use, like as I told earlier or in the previous session, like pile fabrics or loop pile fabrics which are going to be used like socks knitting or socks fabrics. So to give the more comfort to the wearer, we are giving this kind of fabric structures, we are making it this kind of fabric structures. Okay. And coming to the next point, that is most weft knitted fabrics in continuous length is knitted on large diameter and multi-feeder, and we are using most probably latch needle machines. Okay, so latch needle machines and slit into open width. So after fabric manufacturing, so generally these circular knitting machines, we are going to prepare the fabric in the form of tube. So that is why tubular fabric we are talking. So after the making of the fabric, this fabric is going to slit into open width form. Okay, and it is going to be finished in the finishing area. Okay, and the emphasis is on productive efficiency and quality control in the manufacturing and finishing and conversion of fabric into article of apparel or other end usages. Okay, so after the finishing, what we are doing is we are going to convert this whatever the fabric which is prepared in the circular knitting machines with a very good quality. Okay, after the finishing and everything, the fabric is going to send to the making of articles or to making a garment in the garment industry or apparel industry. Okay, and this tends to encourage the establishment of large units with long production runs. So because of the more or vast application areas, what we are doing is we are producing the more amount of tubular fabric or knitted fabric in the department. So that the large units with the long production runs we are established. Okay, so that is why more production is necessary. And one more thing, the post knitting handling operations, the fabric must maintained in the relaxed, tension free. So in the relaxed and tension free, that is nothing but a state as possible in order to reduce the problems caused by the dimensional distortion and shrinkage. So this is very, very important, dimensional distortion and the shrinkage. Dimensional distortion and shrinkage is these two parameters are very important in terms of the conversion of fabric into a garment. Okay, so generally in case of circular weft knitting or in the knitting machine, so the yarn the loop forms are going to be formed. So yarn becomes a loop. So yarn is converting into a loop. So interlooping of yarn. Okay, so when the loop formation is happening, so we are knocking over the yarn so that the loop will be formed. So there is a tension applied on the yarn. Okay, there will be a tension applied on the yarn due to the knocking over time. Okay, so this whatever the strain which is already imparted or already there in the fabric structure or in the yarn to be released in the further process. So that is why we required so many finishing processes. Like you can see that, so in the finishing particularly, to maintain this dimensional distortion and the shrinkage, we are going to use the heat setting and stentering. Okay, so by using the heat setting and stentering, we are going to stable the fabric. That is, dimensionally we are stabling the fabric by heat setting as well as the stentering. Okay, so this is the major thing in the process of finishing. And apart from that, the fabric is going to be sent to for the printing and bleaching and dyeing. If the piece dyed is there, nothing but if the long fabric or this monocolor we need to apply, in that case we are going to send the fabric, the grey fabric, into the dyeing. So before dyeing we can scour the fabric, mercerize the fabric or bleach the fabric. So whatever the process is required for particular application, we are going to follow them. Okay, so these are the chemical processing areas where we are final output, that is final fabric, finished fabric is going to be ready for the apparel production, apparel making. So garment making, that is nothing but So as I told, like undergarments, t-shirts, apparels particularly, so the leggings. So there are so many applications are there of this knitted fabric. So these are going to be ready after the chemical processing. Okay. Then you can see here. So before going to the content of double jersey or double bed circular knitting machines, we'll see what is the comparison in between the single bed circular knitting machines and double bed circular knitting machines. Okay, so you can see here the single jersey fabric, and we are seeing that the double jersey fabrics. The two fabrics we are comparing. So you can observe here the number of needles which are used in a single jersey. So normally single jersey fabric is formed by one set of needles, and you can see that the double jersey is going to be formed by two set of needles. Okay, so the single jersey is going to be formed by using one set of needles, and double jersey fabrics are going to be formed by using the two sets of needles. Okay, so we'll discuss one by one. Okay, and what is the appearance of the fabric after making? So you can see that the single jersey fabric face side and back side appears different. Face side and back side of the fabric is going to be appear different. That is why, as I told, as we have discussed also, so we have a technical face, we have a technical face, that is all the face loops will be appear at one side, and we have a technical back. We have a technical back. So nothing but one side of the fabric which appears only face loops, and one other side only back loops are going to be appeared. So as we have discussed earlier also, like what is this face loop and what is the back loop, you can observe that the face loops nothing but the loop which is going to appear face side. So this is the loop, and you can see that the previous pores of the loop is going to appear at back side. Okay, so the previous loop is going to appear on the back side, and the new loop, that is the newly formed loop, is going to be appeared at the face side. You can observe this. This is the face loop, and as we know that the back loop nothing but the loop which is appeared on the back side. So the previous loop is going to appear on the face side. Okay, so these, if all the loops are looks like this is called as the technical face, and if the all loops are appeared back loops, that is called as the technical back. So this is the difference. Now we'll move on to the double jersey fabric. So face and back sides and back sides appear same, but it is only in some cases, because if we have sequential ribs, that is equal ribs, 1 into 1 rib, 2 into 2 rib, okay, 2 into 2 rib. So rib structures, it will be appear same. And if we have interlock, that is completely interlock gating, so in that case the fabric will appear same in the both the sides. For example, when it is going to be different, the face side and back side, so this will be different if the rib structure, or if, for example, I am giving the rib structure. So if the rib structure which is having 2 into 1 rib, so unequal ribs. So one loop will be appear at back side and the two loops will be appear, two wales will be appear in the face side. And one more thing like 3 into 1, 3 into 2. So these ribs are differently appear. Okay. So the appearance of the fabric will be different in these cases, and these cases the appearance of the fabric is going to be looks same. So that is the major thing. Now coming to the third point, that is curling tendency. So sometimes you can observe that if the knitted fabric you have cut, so there will be a chances of curling at the edges of the fabric. So what is the tendency of the curling? So single jersey generally it is having curling tendency. So how it is having is, so it have a curling tendency. So in particular to the top side, top and bottom sides, top and bottom sides of the fabric becomes a curl. So if you have cut the fabric, so top side and bottom side, which is going to curl to back side, nothing but the fabric which is going to cut top and bottom. And if you observe that, so you have to see that the wales direction and courses direction, so which is having a tendency. I am drawing the fabric structure. You can see here the fabric structure. Say this is our single jersey knitted fabric. So top side and bottom side and top side, which is going to curl to backward direction. Okay, to backward direction. And sides, these sides and this side, which is going to curl into the face direction. This is going to curl in the face and curl into back, and it is curl back. So this is how the knitted fabric is going to having a curling tendency. And you can observe that there is no curling tendency which is going to observed in case of double jersey fabric generally, because there is an equal uniform distribution of the loops are there, so the strain also uniformly distributed, so there is no chances of curling generally which is going to be there in case of double jersey fabrics. And the fabric balance, if you see that the single jersey fabrics are mostly unbalanced and double jersey fabrics are balanced structures. And the thickness and weight of the fabric, thickness and weight of the single jersey is half of the rib fabric, and the thickness and weight of the double jersey is twice of the rib fabric, and sometimes you can say that the twice of the single jersey fabrics. Okay, if it is interlock, then if you have used all the parameters same, in that case you can say that the interlock will be doubled than the single jersey fabrics, because the cylinder needles as well as dial needles are going to form the loops. So because of that, so your loops number of loops, that is stitch density, becomes double than the single jersey fabric. That is why it is going to be uniform and balanced structure, and the fabric weight and thickness becomes twice compared to the single jersey fabric structure. And the laddering problems also, you can see that the single jersey fabrics are having a laddering problem, and there is no laddering effect which is produced in the double jersey fabrics. Okay, and expensive terms, if cost is concerned, so normally single jersey is less expensive than the double jersey, because the components or elements which are there or available in the circular knitting machine is simply only one set of elements are required, and here more expensive than the single jersey because the knitting elements which are there in the case of double jersey are doubled or twice. Because of that, the expensive it is compared to the single jersey, it is simply double. Okay, and the look, if you consider the look of the fabric, if you consider the look of the fabric, all are face, otherwise all are back. So you can observe that all are face or the back loops will be appear. So depends upon the design here. In the case of double jersey, depends upon the design, the fabric appearance is going to different. For example, as I told, 1 into 1 rib, okay, 1 into 2 rib, 2 into 1 rib, 2 into 2 rib, okay, and 3 into 1 rib. So there are so many derivatives of rib. So it is going to appear differently if the structure of the fabric is changed, and as well as we have different fabric structures also. Okay, so if we change the fabric structures like a PQ or double PQ or half cardigan, so if we change the view or if we change the generally the structure, we cannot say the view, so we can say that the structure of the knitted fabric, so completely the look or appearance of the fabric is going to be different. Okay, so this is the simple comparison or difference between the single jersey and double jersey fabrics. Okay, so we'll move on to the double bed circular knitting machines now. Okay, double bed circular knitting machines. So the most wide spread version of the double bed circular knitting machines is equipped with two needle beds. Equipped with two needle beds positioned at 90 degrees angle. Positioned at 90 degrees angle, and the vertical needles in the bed is called as the cylinder, and while the horizontal one is called as the dial. So a simple one. So the needles which are there in the cylinder, that is vertical needles, are present in the cylinder. Say for example, we can see here. So there is a cylinder, and in the cylinder we have needles. We have a needle. So there is a butt outside to the projected. So these are called as the cylinder. So the needles are going to be vertical. These needles are called as the cylinder needles. And if we have the needles which are present in the trikes and which is projected outside from the dial, so we can say that this is called as the dial. So the needle arrangement will be like one is this and the second one is like this. So which are the needles which are arranged in the 90 degrees angle, and you can see that these vertical needles are called as the cylinder needles. The horizontal needles are called as dial needles. So this is the explanation related to this, and you can see that now the another version is there. So that is one version, that is a cylinder and dial case, and there is another version. There is a double bed circular knitting machines featured needle beds which are positioned 180 degrees. Which are positioned 180 degrees. So 90 degrees nothing but like this, 180 nothing but like this. Okay, so now these two needle beds, so you can see that these machines are called double cylinder machines, or we can say that link to link machines. Link to link machines. And you can see here they incorporate two needle beds called lower and upper cylinder needles. So lower and upper cylinder. There are two cylinders. There are two cylinders which are arranged, which are fixed into a particular angle, that is 180 degrees angle. Okay. So nothing but face to face each other. So you can see here. So the alignment, two cylinders aligned to one another. So these machines featured special double latch needles. So these type of double cylinder knitting machines are required. A special latch needles which are having double latches. Generally, in the needle we have only one latch. So say for example, this is the needle and we have a latch. Okay. Now in this particular case, double cylinder case, we required double latch needles. Double latch needles nothing but there is a needle which is having both the sides hook, and which is having both the sides latch. Okay. The movement of these latches maybe if the cylinders are fixed into the circular form, say for example one is like this and the second one also be like this. So now the trikes of the lower cylinder. So the needle is going to move into the particular path. So it will be move up and down. Okay. So one time it is going to form this loop. This side it is forming the loops, and the second time it is going to form this side on the loops. So we'll discuss what is exactly this loop formation in the double cylinder knitting machines. Okay. And so these are the simple classification of two cylinder, nothing but two needle bed or double needle bed circular web knitting machines. Okay. So as I am repeating that, the double bed circular knitting machines are classified into two types. One is called as cylinder and dial case, which are arranged into a 90 degrees angle, and there is a second one that is double cylinder case. So which are aligned into a 180 degrees of angle. So this is related to the double jersey circular knitting machines. We'll discuss more in the next sessions. Till then, thanks for listening. Bye.